Anyone remembers what is the title of the chapter? The urgent something?
A threat against ISKCON.
A threat against ISKCON. You have a very good memory. Nice. You know, you are young and good memory. I'm getting old. Nice. Now it's all responsible for you, Prasanti, Sai Kiran Prabhu, our Vijayanand Prabhu. You know, you all are fortunate. You have now a lot of information, at least in the history, some of the things as relatively compared to other devotees. I hope you all are relishing these times. It's like a treasure. And you're like, all of you will be like senior devotees. Means?
No, Prabhuji, we are not senior. We are just learning, using this as an opportunity to learn.
Very nice. This sincerity will help us to grow. The two is learning from hearing, learning from experiences. Learning from hearing is intelligent. Learning from experience is less intelligent. So these things will help you in your progress in spiritual life. Okay, so here we are in this subject at this time. I was curious today. I read a couple of verses actually without telling all of you. So Prabhupada is having really experiencing some threat. All this, disciples are plotting something Prabhupada felt. And interestingly, he called immediately, and those leaders he gave. What did he give? Anyone remembers? Sannyas initiation he gave, and go and preach. And Prabhupada tell to Prabhupada is saying to his personal servant, these are the innocent people, don't tell anything. Karandar Prabhu actually. Okay. So now he called Rupanuga Prabhu and he called Bhagwan, right? Bhagwan Das. Then we'll see what happens to come immediately. So I'll read from here. This set of mind reeling. I sat in the chair, hot and sweaty after coming back from Sankirtan. My mind absorbed in thinking of Prabhupada and what could be going on. I called Los Angeles to talk to Prabhupada's secretary. Devanand, who told me he couldn't really say anything at that point. I was hoping somehow or other I could get more information of the situation. But after waiting some time, I went in to take my shower. I was in the shower when all of a sudden someone banged on the door. Prabhupada is on the telephone. He wants to speak with you. I was sure there was some misunderstanding. How is it possible that spiritual master could be on the telephone? Anyway, I ran out of the shower, all wet, and picked up the telephone and said hello. There was a long pause. And then all of a sudden I heard Srila Prabhupada's voice on the other hand. Bhagwan Das. Bhagwan Das? Yes, I said. Srila Prabhupada, please accept my humble obeisance. How can I serve you? I was completely stunned. Then Prabhupada's voice came slowly on the phone. There are many things that you will do, but the first thing is that you must come here immediately. I said, of course, Srila Prabhupada. I'll be there right away. And with that, we both hung up. So he's in which city? Somewhere. But Prabhupada is in LA. So I'm coming right away. Look at how commitment surrendered, right? I managed to gather the money together to take the flight to Los Angeles. And when I got on the plane in Detroit, it just so happened that Rupanuga was also in the same plane. We sat together and discussed what could possibly be happening in Los Angeles to cause Srila Prabhupada so much distress. When we arrived at the airport, Karandra picked us up and told us that some of the elder devotees had been plotting against Prabhupada, and that day Prabhupada had given several of the men sannyas and sent them away to preach. This was all quite amazing to me, and I didn't really know what to make of it. And did you see here what's happening? Prabhupada said that when Prabhupada found out they're plotting something against Prabhupada disciples, and then he gave them the sannyas, go and preach. When you give sannyas, you're out of those responsibilities, no? And now administrative responsibilities, basically become preacher. When we came into Prabhupada's room, he looked distressed and was rubbing his head, complaining of the blood pressure that was caused by the conspiracy. Tamal Krishna, I had written Srila Prabhupada a lengthy letter from Paris describing how we wanted to expand our preaching efforts in Europe, and suddenly I received a telegram from His Divine Grace that said, "Received your letter, 26 July. Come Los Angeles immediately." I was quite surprised, and I remember disentangling myself that very day and leaving that night. And even though I was in charge of the activities there. So he was in Paris. Tamal Krishnan came to Los Angeles. When I arrived in Los Angeles, I found Rupanuga, Bhagwan, Kirtanananda Swami, and Karandar. I was in a very enthusiastic, blissful mood from having done so much Sankirtan, and I had no idea of any difficulty. But these devotees were all in a heavy, somber mood, and they tried to explain to me what was going on. But actually, I could not get a very clear understanding. I had arrived in the late afternoon, and I could not see Srila Prabhupada. Early the next morning, when Prabhupada was informed that I had arrived, he called for me before Mangalarti. I went up to his quarters, and when I came through the door, Prabhupada was sitting in his room with his head downward. He looked up, and he appeared to be almost ill. He was gaunt and looked very sorrowful. He said meekly, just as I was bowing down, have they told you? Um, of course, I hadn't really understood everything, but in reply to his question, I said, yes, they've told me something. And Prabhupada said, can you help me? So I answered, yes, Srila Prabhupada. He said, can you take me out of here? And I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. So this is, we are very not clear what's happening. And now Prabhupada urgently called some of the devotees who were committed and felt he can count on them, includes, you need to count on them, those who are loyal devotees, surrendered devotees. So Tamal Krishna, Prabhupada looks like had a lot of faith on him. Tamal Krishna, Rupanuga, and who is the third one? Kirtanananda, Bhagwan. So they all were there, and Karandra was there. So Prabhupada says, can you take me out of here? I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. Okay. Second two, please. You're in the voice, right? Okay. Prasant, you please read.
Of course, I did not feel that I could help Srila Prabhupada, but I could understand that I had to say yes. How can you say, no, I won't? But how far could I help? It's like lifting the heaviest object in the world. Guru is so heavy, and yet I had to say yes. So Prabhupada asked me next, where will you take me? And I said, well, we can go to Florida. He said, no, that is not far enough. I said, I could take you to Europe. He said, no, that also will not be good. The problem may be there also. So anyway, we didn't conclude where to go at that time. But Prabhupada said, it is like a fire here. I must leave at once. It has been like a fire. Prabhupada confided in Rupanuga Tamal Krishna and Bhagwan about the various incidents. His mail withheld, his name misprinted, his riding in the Rath Yatra parade restricted. He mentioned these and other indications that the certain persons wanted to move him into the background, out of the reach of his disciples. He didn't want to stay in Los Angeles. He didn't want to stay in United States. He didn't even want to go to Europe. He wanted to leave the arena of his disciples' offenses. But before leaving, he wanted to complete his plans for establishing a governing body to manage ISKCON. To this end, he dictated the following on July 28. I, the undersigned A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, disciple of Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa, 108 Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, came in the United States in 1965 on September 18th for the purpose of starting Krishna consciousness movement. For 1 year, I had no shelter. I was traveling in many parts of this country. Then, in 1966, July, I incorporated this society under the name and style the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, briefly ISKCON. Gradually, the society increased, and one after another, branches were opened. Now we have got 34 branches enlisted herewith. As we have increased our volume of activities, now I think a governing body commission, hereinafter referred to as the GBC, should be established. I'm getting old, 75 years old. Therefore, at any time, I may be out of the scene. Therefore, I think it is necessary to give instruction to my disciples how they shall manage the whole institution. They are already managing individual centers represented by one president, one secretary, one treasurer, and in my opinion, they are doing nice. But we want still more improvement in the standard of the temple management, propaganda for Krishna consciousness, distribution of books and literatures, opening of new centers, and educating devotees to the right standard. Therefore, I have decided to adopt the following principles, and I hope my beloved disciples will kindly accept them. Prabhupada then listed the names of 12 persons who would form the GBC. Shriman Rupanuga Das Adhikari, Shriman Bhagavan Das Adhikari, Shriman Shyam Sundar Das Adhikari, Shriman Satswarupa Das Adhikari, Shriman Karandhar Das Adhikari, Shriman Hansadatta Das Adhikari, Shriman Tamala Krishna Das Adhikari, Shriman Sudhama Das Adhikari, Shriman Bali Mardhan Das Adhikari, Shriman Jagadisha Das Adhikari, Shriman Haigriva Das Adhikari, Shriman Krishna Das Adhikari. These personalities are now considered as my direct representatives. While I'm living, they will act as my journal secretaries, and after my demise, they will be known as executors.
You're reading very, very important subjects. So this will going to help you. You're reading very interesting and crucial subject matter. So basically by reading this, everybody will get very mature. Okay, go ahead.
So Prabhupada asked, Prabhupada asked the disciples, he confided in them about the problems, and he asked them, can you help me? The disciples were ready, but they are also not sure how to approach the problem. So as a disciple, they immediately said yes.
He was not disciples, he was only asked Tamal Krishna Goswami.
Oh.
Tamal Krishna only that time. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was saying like, can you take care of, can you take me out of here? Then he said, I can take you to Florida. Then he it's like not far enough for Prabhupada. So he said Europe, and that was also not good enough. So they did not decide where they want to go, but Prabhupada said that it is like a fire over here, and I really must leave once immediately from here. And then he also confided in Rupanuga, Tamal Krishna, and Bhagavan about various incidents, like his mail withheld, he was sidelined, um, and then his name is misprinted. His riding and Rath Yatra was also restricted. So with all these things going on, he was very he was feeling very sad. And then he mentioned he mentioned that some certain people like his god brothers, they wanted to try to move him to background, and they are also coming in between him and his disciples. So he was and he was very concerned how this movement is going to develop. So he immediately had plans for establishing the governing body, and then he signed a statement dictating the below, like I, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami of this Guru Parampara, I came to United States at so and so date, and there was no shelter for 1 year. I was moving, traveling to different parts of the society, different parts of the country, and then finally they were able to establish. He was able to establish Krishna Conscious Society, ISKCON, and then slowly the branches started to open. Now they have like 34 branches, and he's becoming old now. He's 75 years old, and he wants to establish GBC, Governing Body Commission, so that after if for any reason he leaves the body, then these GBC will be the executors. And he named like 12 people who are going to run different sections in the ISKCON, like distributing books, propaganda for Krishna consciousness, how they manage the temples. They are doing well according to his opinion, but he wants them to improve more in opening the new centers or educating the devotees. So he immediately formed GBC.
Thank you. Nita, you can read, please. So basically, in their summary, Prabhupada's point is, Prabhupada, what is the seriousness is so much of work, very important task. You know how Prabhupada struggled. And people, he could sense, for other people, they don't know what they're doing. Not saying name or what are the, for them, they might be sounding what it is. But as a senior Vaishnava pure devotee, he forces the danger. What the force is the danger? Because it's a very important movement. If it's managed like this, if it goes like this, your disciples are not conscious of it, take it for granted, it's not a joke. Then what will happen? Everything will fall apart. He was not attached to the position, he was attached to keep his movement going, and for that he needed the organizational development. Yes, as supervisors, he wanted to hand over, So now after the GBC is formed, the Prabhupada will feel relieved that at least these people will handle now. If you give one person, they'll be in big danger. And before that also, some of them were suggesting that we should have one leader. Remember yesterday? Somebody was saying, oh, we will elect one. So Prabhupada says, already one is there, you don't have to elect one. So basically we need it, he's trying to give to a team now. So it should be taken care. Okay, Nipa, please go ahead.
Prabhupada further described the role of the Prabhupada further described the role of the sannyasis. I've already awarded sannyas or the renounced order of life to some of my students, and they have also got very important duties to perform in this connection. The sannyasis will travel to our different centers for preaching purpose as well as enlightening the members of the center for spiritual advancement. Prabhupada's legal document went on to set forth general directions for the GBC secretaries. They should travel regularly to the temples in their respective zones to ensure that each devotee chanted 16 rounds and followed a regulated schedule, and that the temples were clean. His 12 GBC secretaries would relieve him of management, and they would rectify present and future difficulties within the societies. That rectification
You're there? Nipa, we can't hear you. You all can hear me?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes.
So we missed her, right? Okay. She will come back probably. You can, Seeker, you can read, please. Yeah.
So I'll start from the beginning of this paragraph. Prabhu.
Okay.
Prabhupada's legal document went out to set forth general directions for the GBC secretary. They should travel regularly to the temples in the respective zones to ensure that each devotee chanted 16 rounds and followed a regulated schedule and that temples were clean. His 12 GBC secretaries would relieve him of management and they would rectify present and future difficulties within the society. That rectification, Prabhupada document explained, would be possible
Right.
only when the devotees in each temple engaged fully in regulated devotional service, rising early for Mangalarti at 4:30, attending Srimad Bhagavatam class and reciting the Sanskrit verses, and chanting in the streets and distributing back to Godhead magazines and other Krishna conscious literature. This emphasis on strictly following Krishna conscious principles would supersede all material formulas for management. The GBC would ensure that in their appointed zones all the devotees were properly engaged. There would be no Maya. The next day, Prabhupada drafted another significant statement naming Bhagavan, Rupanuga, and Karandhar trustees of his Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. The Bhaktivedanta Book Trust account will be used to publish my books and literature and to establish temples throughout the world. Specifically, 3 temples are to be established, one each in Mayapur, Vrindavan, and Jagannath Puri. Since returning to America in 1967, Prabhupada had often said he would stay permanently in America as the adopted son of his disciples. Now he revealed new plans. He spoke of going to India to preach and to establish large ISKCON temples. For the devotees, who based their activities mostly in small rented houses, Prabhupada's constructing cathedral-like building in India was inconceivable. In India, Prabhupada said he would teach his disciples how to preach and how to establish temples. Prabhupada picked a team, including 2 newly initiated sannyasis, to accompany him to India. In the future, he said, more disciples could join him, for India would become an important field of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada wrote Satsvarupa and Uddhava in Boston. You are all my children, and I love my American boys and girls who are sent to me by my spiritual master, and I have accepted them as my disciples. Before coming to your country, I took sannyasa in 1959. I was publishing BTG since 1944. After taking sannyas, I was more engaged in writing my books without any attempt to construct temples or to make disciples like my other god brothers in India. So again, Srila Prabhupada again here, he writes a legal document where he set forth general directions for the GBC secretary. So here he mentions how the GBC should function. He said all the GBC members, they should travel regularly to the temples in their respective zones. And then their responsibilities ensure that all the devotees in their respective zones, they are chanting their 16 rounds regularly, and then they are following the regulative principles strictly. And then also to ensure that the temples were clean. And then so this GBC that he formed, that the expectation was that they would relieve him, relieve the Prabhupada of the management responsibilities, and then and then the GBC would take care of all the issues happening in their respective zones. They would rectify the present and future difficulties within the society. So Srila Prabhupada said that a rectification of the problems that would be only possible when the devotees in each temple, they engage fully in regulated devotional service. So meaning they should rise early in the morning for Mangalarti at 4:30. They should be attending Srimad Bhagavatam class and then reciting Sanskrit verses and also chanting in the street Harinam and distributing back to God in magazines. So this emphasis on strictly following the Krishna conscious principle, Prabhupada mentioned that should supersede all material formulas for management. And then the GBC again would ensure that all the appointed zones, all the devotees were properly engaged in the devotional service. And then that way there would be no Maya at all. So after that, Srila Prabhupada drafted another statement, and then he named Bhagwan, Rupanuga, and Karandhar trustees of his Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. So now he establishes the BBT. And then he mentions that the BBT account will be used to publish Srila Prabhupada's book, and then to establish temples throughout the world. And then he mentions specifically 3 temples are to be established. So one each in Mayapur, Vrindavan, and Jagannath Puri. And then so since returning, when he returned back to America in 1967, Srila Prabhupada would often say that he would stay permanently in America as the adopted son of his disciples. But again, now he changed his plan. He had some new plans, and then he was like speaking about going back to India to preach and establish very big temples, very big ISKCON temples in India. So Prabhupada said in India he would teach his disciples on how to preach and how to establish temples. And then Prabhupada picked a small team. There were 2 new initiated sannyasis to accompany him to India. And then he said that in future many more disciples could join him whenever there was need. And then Prabhupada here he says that India would become an important field for Krishna consciousness. And then Prabhupada wrote to 2 of his disciples, Vatsvarupa and Uddhava, in Boston. And then in his letter, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that he loves all American boys and girls, and then he considers them to be sent by his spiritual master Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and then he accepted all his disciples, American boys and girls as his disciples. And then Srila Prabhupada mentioned that before coming to America, he took sannyas in 1959, and then he was publishing BTG since 1944. And then after taking sannyas, he was more engaged in writing books. He did not specifically focus on constructing big temples. Rather, he was more into writing books.
Srikar can read, yeah.
Yes.
Sridhari, yeah.
I was not very much interested in these matters because my Guru Maharaj liked very much publication of books than constructing big temples and creating some neophyte disciples. As soon as he saw that his neophyte disciples were increasing in number, he immediately decided to leave this world. To accept disciples means to take up the responsibility of absorbing the sinful reaction of life of the disciple. At the present moment, in our ISKCON campus, politics and diplomacy has entered. Some of my beloved students on whom I counted very much have been involved in this matter influenced by Maya. As such, there has been some activity which I consider as disrespectful. So I decided to retire and divert attention to book writing and nothing more. On July 31st, Prabhupada wrote Brahmananda and Gargamuni explaining why he was leaving for India. In order to set example to my other sannyasi students, I am personally going to Japan with a party of 3 other sannyasi students. Although it is beyond my physical condition, still I am going out so that you may learn the responsibility of sannyas. I'm fervently appealing to you all not to create fracture in the solid body of the society. Please work conjointly without any personal ambition. That will help the cause.
It is the injunction of the Vedas that the spiritual master should not be treated as ordinary man. Even sometimes the spiritual master behaves like ordinary man. It is the duty of the disciple to accept him as a superhuman man. In the beginning of your letter, your comparison of the soldier and the commander is very appropriate. We are on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. One side Maya, the other side Krishna. So the regulative principles of a battlefield, namely to abide by the order of the commander, must be followed. Otherwise, it is impossible to direct the fighting capacity of the soldiers and thus defeat the opposing elements. Kindly, therefore, take courage. Let things be rightly done so that our mission may be correctly pushed forward to come out victorious. So it is the continuation of the letter. Prabhupada said that he wasn't very much interested in these matters because his Guru Maharaj uh, told him to publish many books than constructing many temples, like big temples, and create some neophyte disciples. Like later on, he saw that his neophyte disciples were increasing in number, so immediately he decided to leave this world because if he is accepting more disciples means he's taking up their sinful reaction also. So he thought it would be better to leave this world. So, and also in the ISKCON campus at present, there has been many politics and diplomacy issues, and whom he loved very much also. I mean, even those students were um, involved in those matters because of the Maya, and there has been some disrespectful activities too. So he decided to retire and divert his attention in writing books and nothing more than that. So on July 31st, he again wrote a letter. I mean, he wrote another letter to Brahmananda and Gargamuni explaining why he was leaving for India. So he thought that he should set examples for other sannyasi students. So though his physical condition is not allowing him to go to Japan, still he is going so that his other disciples may learn the responsibilities of the sannyas. So he's appealing to the uh, ISKCON society not to create any fracture and to work conjointly without any personal ambition so that it will help the cause. And
Should I tell?
yes, Prabhu, please.
So, because Yashya Prasadat Bhagavad Prasad Yashya Prasadam Nagati Kutopi. I don't know. Do you all offer prayers in the morning? I should really ask. Even I need to spend time with all of you to how your morning goes, what prayers you're offering. All of you are supposed to offer Guru Ashtakam prayers. I can teach you online if you want. It's going to help you how to do. I think it's time to really make sure this is done. Otherwise, how will we live? Anyway, so it says the injunction of the Vedas, the spiritual master should be treated as none other than the Supreme Lord. The way you worship the Lord Krishna, that's the way you worship the spiritual master also. Actually, you cannot treat as an ordinary man. Even though sometimes, it appears like ordinary, but we cannot treat. We must treat, and if you don't, then we will never grow. That's the problem. So, in the beginning of your letter, you compare to the soldier and commander is very appropriate. We are on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. But basically, what you're saying is the same thing I've been, telling, that this moment is like a fight. You're fighting against Maya, illusory energy of the Lord. So if one cannot say, "Oh, I'm sitting, everything going fine," it means we don't know the reality. So, and one side is Maya, the other side is Krishna. So the regulatory principles of the battlefield, namely to abide the order of the commander, must be followed. Otherwise, it is impossible to direct the fighting capacity of the soldiers and thus defeat the opposing elements. Basically, one will lose if you don't fight. you will become victim of the sinful activities. Kindly, therefore, take courage. Let things be rightly done so that our mission may be correctly pushed forward to come out victorious. It's not just how many people come; it's how people live. We have principles, we have practices. Um, so this is very, very crucial for all of us. Actually. Yeah. Now, Vijayanand Prabhu, you can read.
Prabhupada wrote other letters revealing his plan to travel to India. Our life is very short. The Krishna consciousness movement is not meant for fulfilling one's personal ambition, but it is a serious moment for the whole world. I am therefore going to the Eastern Hemisphere, beginning from Japan. We are going four in a party, and all of us are sannyasis. In this old age, I am going with this party just to set an example to my disciples who have taken recently the sannyas order. In preparation for Prabhupada's trip to India, Prabhupada's secretary Devananda, now Devananda Swami, asked him questions from the immigration form. Mechanically reading the questions and filling in the answers as Prabhupada replied, "Have you ever committed any criminal acts?" Devananda asked, reading from the form. Prabhupada eyes widened. "You are asking your spiritual master if he had anything criminal." And he turned to Bhagavan. "You see, I'm simply surrounded by people I cannot trust. It is a dangerous situation." Prabhupada sat in his garden the night before his departure. "Don't be disturbed," he told the disciples with him. "We are not going backward, we are going forward. I will reveal everything to you and I will rectify." His strong words and criticisms here had been to enlighten his disciples, to warn them and show them the subtleties of Maya. Karandara mentioned that the temple leaders are arranged that only a few devotees go with Prabhupada the next day to the airport. "Where did this idea come from?" Prabhupada asked. "Srimad Bhagavatam instructs that when a saintly person leaves your company, all present should follow the departing vehicle as far as possible until it is out of sight." So the next day, the devotees all accompanied Prabhupada, chanting and dancing behind him through the long corridors to Los Angeles International Airport. After many months with them, he was now leaving. Devotees cried. Prabhupada, dressed in new garments, his head freshly shaven, looked effulgent. He sat in the departure lounge, head held high, as grave and unfathomable as ever. He was embarking on a new adventure for Lord Chaitanya. He was old and might not return, he said, but his disciples should continue the Krishna consciousness movement seriously. If you follow this new schedule, he said, you will keep Maya from attacking. And then he left them.
This
So,
sound,
yeah. So Prabhupada was sharing his travel plans to India, and he was mentioning Krishna conscious movement is not for one's personal ambition, but it should be a serious movement for the whole world. So, as an example to other sannyasis, he's even in this old age, he's traveling to the Eastern Hemisphere, beginning from Japan, along with four other devotees joining him. And in the preparation for his trip, his secretary Devananda Swami was asking questions from immigration form, questions like whether have you ever committed any criminal acts. On these questions, Devananda was asking to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was surprised, and he was saying he was asking this kind of questions to spiritual master, and he was mentioning he was surrounded by the people he cannot trust, and it is a dangerous situation. And before the night of his departure, he was encouraging the disciples not to be disturbed, and mentioned that they are not going backward, they are going forward. And he will reveal everything. And he was mentioning with his strong words and criticism to enlighten disciples, also to warn them so that they are not under the influence of Maya. And Karandara mentioned that only few devotees will join Prabhupada while he's leaving to the airport. But then Prabhupada was not happy with it, and he was mentioning even in Srimad Bhagavatam, it was mentioned that when a saintly person is moving, all the people should go with him until as far as possible. So after mentioning this, the next day, all the devotees accompanied Prabhupada to the airport, and they were chanting and dancing behind them through the long corridors. And And after many months, he is now leaving, and the devotees were crying. So, during the travel, like Prabhupada was dressed in the new garments, freshly shaven, and was looking effulgent. He was waiting in the departure lounge, and he was also like grave and unfathomable. And he was embarking, he was looking for a new adventure for Lord Chaitanya, even because he's very old and he might not return, but he was giving instruction that they should take the Krishna consciousness movement seriously, and they should not be under the influence or under the attack of Maya.
Do you all remember which year it was? 1970? 69? No, I don't remember the year actually. Maybe at the top will be there. Prabhupada comes now, getting ready to come to India. Okay, maybe I can. Did everybody got to read once? You want to read? Okay, come. Second, you're ready to read now?
Yes, Prabhu, I can read.
Okay, you can read then after this. Simon is going to read first. You can read.
Hare Krishna. En route to Japan, Prabhupada stopped overnight in Hawaii. He stayed in a motel, and Gaurasundara and Govindasi came to talk with him. Govindasi wanted Prabhupada to stay and install the deities of Radha and Krishna in the temple. If Gaurasundara agreed, Prabhupada said he would stay a few days longer to perform the deity installation. Let me consult, Gaurasundara replied, and the next day Prabhupada flew on to Japan. From Japan, Prabhupada wrote Govindasi. It is very encouraging to learn that people inquired about me and were eager to hear my speaking. I could have stayed 1 or 2 more days. There was no hurry, but you did not make any arrangement. I personally proposed to Gaurasundara that I shall install the deities, and he replied that let me consult. But he never informed me of the result of that consultation and with whom he had to consult. So this is the present situation in our ISKCON society. It is clear that a great mischievous propaganda was lightly made, and the effect has created a very unfavorable situation, and I am very much afflicted in this connection. Still, there is time to save the society out of this mischievous propaganda, and I hope all of you combine together to do the needful. At the Tokyo airport, Prabhupada was greeted by executives of Dai Nippon Printing Company, the printers of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the 20,000 monthly copies of Back to Godhead. Prabhupada and his entourage rode in a limousine, courtesy of Dai Nippon, to a small private apartment about 45 minutes from the temple. Prabhupada had developed a severe cough and several other symptoms of ill health due, he said, to his disciples' behavior. Yet, despite his illness, he would talk for hours of his concern for ISKCON, especially with his traveling GBC secretary, Tamal Krishna. Soon after their arrival in Japan, Prabhupada's secretary received a disturbing call from a devotee attending the society-wide Janmashtami celebration at New Vrindavan. 4 of the newly initiated sannyasis had arrived, the devotee said, and were teaching a strange philosophy. Devotees were confused. Prabhupada had left America. The sannyasis were saying because he had rejected his disciples. The sannyasis were blaming themselves and other disciples for not realizing that Prabhupada was actually Krishna. So here, when Prabhupada went to, while going to Japan, he stopped overnight in Hawaii, and he stayed in a motel. Gaurasundara and Govindasi, who started a small temple there, center there, they came to meet him. Govindasi wanted Prabhupada to install the Radha Krishna deities in the temple, and Prabhupada said if Gaurasundara agreed, he would extend his stay and perform the deity installation. Gaurasundara said, "Let me consult." And the Prabhupada did not like it, and he flew on to Japan the next day. And he writes a letter to Govindasi saying that like they were encouraging, and they inquired to hear Prabhupada speaking, and there was no hurry, he could have stayed, but there was no arrangement made. And when he proposed personally to Gaurasundara that he will install the deities, Gaurasundara replied, "Let me consult." And he did not say whom he's going to consult and what that result of the consultation was. And this was the threat Prabhupada was is worried about, because there is a propaganda happening behind his back, and this has created a very unfavorable situation. And he writes to Govindas, he's saying that there is still time to save the society if all of if everyone combines together and does the needful. So
I'll pause for here. Did you all understand the situation? Who else you need to consult? Prabhupada is personally there. He the founder Acharya. He is doing. Prabhupada, he should be consulting, not consulting. He should have agreed. How when you deal with such neophyte people, when you take and we think now I'm the doer. Now I'm the doer. And this is really Maya. It's literally, it's not Prabhupada. It is the consciousness of the disciples. What happens is they will fall down. They already fell down actually. So who is in loss? Even though the disciple is in loss, but it's the pain for the spiritual master. Is your own child disciple is falling down. I hope you all are. It's not a very easy subject. And I'm glad at least something you all are getting from out of it. So you will save yourself from all such kind of falling down. Go ahead.
And at the Tokyo airport, Prabhupada was greeted by the Dai Nippon Printing Company. They were the printers of the Krishna book and 20,000 monthly copies of Back to Godhead. And due to their courtesy, Prabhupada rode in a limousine. They went to a small private apartment 45 minutes from the temple. And Prabhupada was not feeling well. He had a cough and ill health. And he said it was because of his disciples' behavior. And still he would talk for hours regarding his concern for ISKCON, especially with Tamal Krishna Prabhu, who is now the GPC secretary. And once they arrived, Prabhupada's secretary, I think it's Tamal Krishna Prabhu, he received a call from a devotee attending the Janmashtami celebrations in New Vrindavan. The 4 of the newly initiated sannyasis had come, and they were teaching a strange philosophy. The devotees, they were confused, and Prabhupada, the sannyasi was saying that Prabhupada had left America because he had rejected his disciples. And the sannyasis were blaming themselves and other disciples for not realizing that Prabhupada was actually Krishna. So
then they are actually now making khichdi. Many things. How Prabhupada had to go through to this. You understand? These sannyasi going, Prabhupada was actually Krishna. And that's also wrong way of presenting this. And he rejected his disciples. Prabhupada never rejected his disciples. How we are simply supposed to repeat what we learn, and we cook in our mind and speculate and do, and all this newly initiated sannyasis will be doing. A lot of nightmare, a lot of destruction has happened actually. Somehow, fortunately, by the will of the Lord, somehow surviving and sustaining by this.
When Prabhupada heard this, he said, "That is why I did not go. I knew this would happen. This is impersonalism." He defined the Mayavad, impersonal misconception of the Guru and Krishna. If one says that the Guru is God, or if the Guru himself says that he is God, that is Mayavada philosophy. For the Mayavada, spiritual realization is realization of one's identity with Brahman, the all-pervading spirit. Despite their austerities and their detachment from materialistic society, and despite their due study of Vedanta Sutra and the commentaries of Sankara, they mistakenly think that Krishna's body, name, pastime, service, and devotees are all facts of Maya or illusion. Therefore, they are called Mayavadis. A Mayavada spiritual master does not reveal to his disciple the holy name of Krishna, the holy pastimes of Krishna, or the transcendental form of Krishna. Since the Mayavadi considers all these Maya, instead the Guru explains the oneness of all things, teaching the disciples that the concept of separate existence and ego is illusion. The Mayavadis sometimes compare the Guru to ladder, and one who uses the ladder to reach a higher position, but if the ladder is no longer needed, one kicks it away.
Yeah. I hope this is not an easy, right? This is a little heavy philosophical. So I hope this will, as soon as Prabhupada heard this, the teachings that Prabhupada was Krishna, Prabhupada said, this is Mayavada. Mayavada means totally false. Because his point is, Mayavada means that you won't grow actually spiritually. And he gave a very deep philosophy here. What happens? I will copy this and share with other devotees in the WhatsApp group. Anyway, so I know I'm sorry it's going to be a little heavy for everybody to hear, but ultimately the subtle desire for respect in worship, these things happen is there. One does these things, and Prabhupada sees as a leader, as a teacher, if you get into this kind of thing, you will ruin everything into risk. Mayavadi, if you say Prabhupada is Krishna, Guru is Krishna, then tomorrow other people also will say, now I'm Krishna, I'm Guru, I'm Krishna. Right? You want to make sure very clear that Guru is Guru and Krishna. Guru is Krishna's servant. So that we teach that very. But Mayavadi is what they say is that, oh, everything is Maya. He also said that despite their austerity, their detachment and study of Vedanta, so the commentaries, they mistakenly think that Krishna's body, name, service, devotees, all are facets of Maya illusion. Therefore, they are called Mayavadis. And Mayavadis, they don't reveal the holy name, which is we are supposed to practice, the holy form, the form of the Lord Krishna, his pastimes, because they don't reveal. That's the thing you're supposed to preach. Because you don't reveal, you don't know about the glories of the Lord. Instead, the Guru explains the oneness of all things. Instead, you think me and Krishna, everybody's same, oneness. There's no concept of separate existence, and ego is illusion. You cannot think separately, but we have to think separately also. We are different from the Supreme Lord. Thus, Mayavada theory, Prabhupada is comparing to the activities of such disciples who wants to, final point, please, hear the thing. One uses the ladder to reach a higher position, but if the ladder is no longer needed, one kicks it back. Do you understand this? Anyone understand this?
Yes, Prabhu. Like they're using him to go to an higher position, and then they basically reject the Guru.
Exactly. So all our devotees, you must teach our devotees, local devotees, that how you also teach responsibility, teach that this is they'll never grow like this. It's you're using, for your false ego. This is not spirituality. You use at the beginning, learn and everything. Then you come today. Now I'm better than you. This. Okay, who is the loser? The person who is doing, he is the loser. But then he will have his followers, they will also fall down. So whole society will fall down. Trying to use spiritual master, just to take high position, now you kick it out, kick out. I know so much now. However, etiquette is very important. Now you see so many devotees. So many, they came. But why they don't have a sincere? Because I know already. I can preach already. I know, 16 rounds I already know. Bhagavad Gita I can preach. Why I need to listen? So what is that? Because of that mentality, one will never grow. This is called Mayavada. And unfortunately, because of Mayavada, we are illusioned. We don't know what we are doing mistake.
So, Prabhu, one question is:
Ah.
Mayavad philosophy similar to Advaita, meaning basically
Yeah,
they're non-dual. They think they are God.
right. Because they say because you want to be Krishna, that's very bad. And here Prabhupada actually really, he knows that this, all the devotees know that they are Vaishnava, they're not Mayavada, but their actions are Mayavada because they're influenced by Maya. Make sense? Because of their activities are influenced by Maya, when our mind and activities are influenced by Maya, we forget our position and we take the higher position of spiritual master and Krishna. It's very, very dangerous. I hope everybody understood. If you understand, make sure you keep in your heart, remember this thing, that you never commit this mistake. Is too much high philosophy? Is it too hard? Mr. Srikar Prabhu?
We can read many times to understand the same thing. Like meaning, sometimes understanding the basics will take a lot of time.
Idea is how we know we are growing is how we become humble, how we are, our gratitude towards the teacher, our gratitude towards Krishna is increasing. That's the resource we are learning. Not like because we work in the mundane world. Okay, now I learned everything. Now I'll kick the manager, I'll take his position. Okay, in mundane world, maybe you can do it, but you cannot do in Krishna consciousness. We may be doing in mundane world, but not in devotional thing. So all times we remain as humble servant. I want to focus on this. So it's maybe I'll read now. Coughing intermittently and speaking with physical discomfort. Prabhupada explained the Mayavadis' dangerous misconceptions. The impersonalists held a cheap, mundane view of the Guru and the Guru's worship and the Guru's instructions. If one says that the Guru is God and God is not a person, then it follows logically that the Guru has no eternal personal relationship with his disciples. Ultimately, the disciple will become equal to the Guru, or in other words, he will realize that he too is a God. Well, my Guru is become as a God, and then I will also become God tomorrow. This is a dangerous concept and philosophy. Arguing from the Vedic scriptures, Prabhupada refuted the Mayavadi's claim. The individual soul, he said, are Krishna's eternal servants, and this master-servant relationship is eternal. Service to Krishna, therefore, is spiritual activity. Only by serving the Guru, however, can a disciple fully revive his eternal relationship with Krishna. The Vedic literature gives paramount importance to serving the spiritual master. He is the representative of God, the direct manifest link to God. No one can approach God but through him. Lord Krishna says, those who are directly my devotees are actually not my devotees, but those who are devotees of my servant, the spiritual master, are actually my devotees. I won't cross much today. I don't want you all feel heavy. And he is still reinstating the position, very clarity, is giving clarity to our movement so that the disciples can stay safe and practice what they told in humble state of mind, being a servant and servant of the servant. Any comments?
Prabhuji, I have a question. For so many years, these disciples have dedicated their lives. They are 100% working for their Guru, and they have also established a lot of branches and are preaching. They are doing so many things for years. And what's the sudden change that this happened?
That's very nice. Very nice question. While practicing bhakti, what will happen? The anarthas also will grow, because remember, while practicing bhakti, there's a name, fame also will comes with it. You know, as you serve Krishna, glorify Krishna, Krishna also glorifies you, right? And we should not be carried away by such kind of name, fame, adoration. Always to remember that I'm the humble servant, blade of grass. And it's the fact, that's the real knowledge. But as you become, sure, today you come, oh, somehow I got devotee association, such a very rare, I'm experiencing wonderful. And tomorrow you practice it, practice it. Day after tomorrow, you develop familiarity with it. You know, then after that you take leadership position, you think, now I have this position, now I am the enjoyer. So it's not very easy. When we take a higher position, responsibility as we grow, the anarthas also comes. And that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, one must carefully guard one's devotion from these anarthas. Anartha means impurities from the heart also will grow gradually. But it has to be proper chanting and proper understanding, proper guidance. One must curb, subdue those anarthas. Then only the seed, the plant of bhakti will grow. You understand? Make sense? You have to protect. All these dangers will come. So even after I gave you this philosophy, didn't I give that thing? Again become mouse.
Yeah.
Right? Again become, this is the same. Prabhupada is going to refer the similar, again become mouse. Because we came from the mouse helpless situation. Now, because we are better situated, like lion, you know, then we want to kill the one who gave. Then again you become fall down because of this mentality. So anarthas will come in our practice, but we need to be very careful not to entertain. Instead, with proper chanting and hearing, we should subdue that. We should recognize those anarthas, or allow the spiritual master, guru, instructor to recognize those anarthas and allow him to rectify. Choya begodami, choya dosa sadhi, choya guna deho da. So he's asking, we should ask, give me 6 benedictions. Correct my 6 anarthas, bad things. Chaya dosa sadhi. Give me 6 qualities. Like that, this is the way. So basically, we should be very open when we get corrected. We should be very open, you know, every day to day, if you're becoming humbler in our devotional service, it means you're doing right. But day to day, the pride of the plant of the pride also growing, you know, oh, now I'm better. I know so much. So what will happen actually, we lose the valuable treasure which we got this morning. Many of you are there in the class. This devotional service is very rare. Pure devotional service is very rare. Spiritual life is very rare. Then we will lose it. We don't want, the Krishna doesn't want, we don't want that. So it's everybody's individual responsibility also to guard their own devotion. Does it make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. It's a treasure. Never, 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 never give up. I am talking to myself. I would always like to prefer to have a pure, improve myself in pure devotional service than all this unwanted unearths, name, fame, and everything. We are taking responsibility to satisfy the Krishna, but we should not be attached. We should not feel proud. Oh, now everybody is worshipping. On the other hand, you know, I should always take this position as humble servant. Be conscious how I can serve. Not like, you know, you understood this example, such a weird, while filling the form, the disciple, or have you done any criminal act? Have you done something? Well, that's a nonsense. Disciple is supposed to use their common sense. But if you don't, you're still confirming from the spiritual master. It means it shows what is your mentality. You've never grew up from that. From activities, from your behavior, we can know what is your character, what is your level of understanding. So we don't want to remain that kind of devotees. We should grow gradually, we should grow carefully, we should grow humbly, and protect ourselves from the dangers like this. Is it benefiting, this talk?
Yes, Prabhuji, yes.
How about others? Sridhari?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
I'm glad. I hope these things have been heard by other devotees also. You all are fortunate because we need to be careful about the dangers which is going to come to us tomorrow. It came to them, it will come to us also, and I'm seeing every day and night. I'm seeing. And today I called two people who was not been calling. One after two calls, one responded. Okay, now he's okay. But if they don't learn all these things, if you don't know your anarthas, you're carried out by false pride anyway. The another person didn't call me yet. Now which he learned from here. From ABC, he learned from here, but don't have any proper etiquette, proper behavior. Now I can do it. I have money and I know how to chant Hare Krishna. I have books now. So, that's called Mayavada. Makes sense? Does it, you understand, Second Prabhu, what is Mayavada?
Yes, Prabhu.
So,
there are two things. One is one definition of Mayavada is thinking that they are God. So that is one, meaning they follow all of this to become God.
Ultimately, the point is, that is the desire in our hearts are there. Ultimately, that's what we will appreciate because we have a desire to be so many lifetimes we will be coming to be Lord over here. It won't go so easily, that mentality. Even coming to Hare Krishna, it works, but again we go back to that mentality, stool eating mentality. That's why we have to be very careful of this. These points speak. All of you speak. All of you act with example. All of you speak. All of you act with example. Is that okay? Yeah. I know things are recorded. So very good. Learn nicely. I'm glad that we are reading. It has to be compulsory reading for all our sincere devotees. It's not an optional. Oh, I will join. They have to read anyway. One day they have to read anyway. So I think we can end it here. I don't want you all read this heavy stuff further. As long as it helps, I'm happy for you. Vijayanand Prabhu, it helped you?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. Very, very careful. Chant nicely. Krishna will reciprocate you. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prabhupada Lilamrita ki jai. Hare Krishna.